Welcome to the Wheels and Waves podcast, everyone. I'm here with Dennis Leedom. Dennis is the founder of Bern helmets, which we carry in the shop. Um, I've known Dennis for a while, so it's really cool to have him on this. But Dennis, do you want to get into Bern a little bit and kind of tell your story and what you guys are all about?
Yeah, it's a long story. So yeah, Bern was founded in July of '04, and it was based upon me being a pioneer in the helmet industry, starting in the snow market before anyone wore helmets for rec use. I represented a brand called Boeri, which is a brand out of Italy, and we were the distributor of Boeri in the U.S. And that was like the first brand that brought the value of head protection for kids in skiing. It's basically before snowboarding. It started like in that was like 1989 90 season, and then definitely evolved into the market growing into adults and people wanting some really cool innovation in protection and comfort and style. And I founded Leedom helmets, and that was really a great experience where I learned a lot about how to develop the engineering of a helmet and figuring out the features and benefits that riders were looking for kind of before they knew they wanted it. And started making those helmets actually in the United States, and that became kind of unsustainable for a lot of reasons. And then moved over to China. And the Bern brand was founded about 8 years after Leedom, with a new business structure and a real mission here to really make head protection a style statement, as well as having advancements in protection and comfort. And it was really cool when we started the brand, where we invented the Baker helmet, which is like the first brim style lid out there, and it really caught on from a style standpoint. And Seth Westcott from Sugarloaf, Maine, um, was in process of training for the launch of the SBX snowboarding, which was going to be launched in Torino in 2006, and he won the gold medal wearing our helmet. And he is a totally scrappy dude from Sugarloaf, Maine, and it was really cool because one of our developers of the Bern brand when we started the company. His name is John Quigley, and he went to high school with Seth Westcott, and we kind of hooked up with John in his office, and Westcott walked in and saw a prototype of the Bern Baker, and he said, "I'm going to win the gold medal wearing this helmet," and he did, and that put Bern on the map and really started the trend of our mission to create the greatest value in style, protection, and comfort. And I can't do it right now, Cut. And here we are today, 21 years later. And right now, we're really focused on our biggest market is the bike market. And in business, you got to be on a wave. You got to be doing something that's growing. And we're really excited to be growing again in the kids market, which is a big part of our gig, kind of hooking up kids with the ultimate value in head protection at a killer price. And we're really focused on the e-bike market, which is an exciting market and growing right now. And we're doing some really trick stuff from a protection, comfort, and style standpoint for that market.
So you really kind of started out trying to target the snowboard community, and then it's sort of evolved into um targeting different areas like the e-bike market, as you mentioned. um Walk me through what that's kind of been like over the past 21 years, sort of seeing the action sports scene evolve. Like, it's
Yeah.
you must be crazy just kind of riding the different waves and seeing what's popular, what's changed.
Yeah, you're totally right, Henry. There's a lot of phases, in that time period. but we always stayed true to our roots of just being, we're outdoor enthusiasts, and in your lifetime as an outdoor enthusiast, you're always progressing on, the sports that you're passionate about. And in the beginning, it was all about skateboarding and it was all about snowboarding, and skiing, and that kind of evolved into biking, which was always the vision. Like I'm a super enthusiast in biking. I've always in college I was a huge road rider. I followed the Tour de France in 1987, which was probably one of the coolest outdoor adventures that I ever had in my life. So we always had the vision that, hey man, if we can really start out by being a core, snowboard skate brand from a style standpoint, that we knew that that would kind of spill over into bike. And as we progressed, we started to, really make some very trick bike head protection that was kind of focused on the urban scene and the fixie scene and the delivery scene that kind of started happening about 8, 9, 7, 8, 9 years after we founded Bern in '04 and delivered our first helmets in '06. And then you know it's been an up and down roller coaster. Like the COVID hangover has been really difficult. That's 5, 6 years ago now, and now here we are in a situation with the tariffs and everything. But the e-bike scene is a growth market. It's exploding where people can't afford cars or there's so much traffic out there. So we're really focused on the urban scene for e-riding, which is starting to be a real trend for us. And we have like an award-winning helmet called the Hudson in this category. And, it's like the lightest, lowest profile E-rated helmet out there. And we're kind of building upon that success right now.
When I met you back in March, I think it was March or April, you had just broken your arm. You were kind of going through that, and before we like started recording this podcast, you just told me that you were out windsurfing, just getting after it. How important, what did that experience kind of teach you about like how important action sports are just in general, like in life? Like, I feel like a lot of people don't realize who don't do them, like how fun and like fulfilling like they can be. Like, what's that been like for you as someone who's been involved with action sports like all your life?
Yeah, thank you, Henry. And I think like the term action sports is kind of evolved now into outdoor because there's so many, action sports was kind of, cornered as, okay, you're a skateboarder or you're a snowboarder. Um, Biking wasn't really an action sport until like kind of BMX started to happen. But I think, now, you know, the vision and the mentality of just the gift of our environment is the greatest thing that I think that we have to, especially with how complicated the world is getting now. And so it's like, hey man, Bern with our stay out there slogan is just like, however you decide to stay out there and use the environment to your benefit and, make sure you're protected when you're doing it. Hey, it's up to you on what you want to do. And there's so many athletes or outdoor enthusiasts out there kind of inventing their own thing and what they want to do. And there's so many more sports now to do, and the equipment is amazing right now. Whether you're a surfer, a windsurfer, a biker, a snowboarder, a skier, there's so many different, parts of biking or types of biking that you can do. So I think it's really cool that, whatever your talent is or your ability, there's something out there for everybody. And there's something that everyone can do to enjoy, the awesome gift of the environment that we have to stay out there in.
How do you see Bern as kind of a cultural force and kind of emphasizing this community, not just among people who do one specific action sport, but sort of like you were saying, like the action sport community in general, just people who love staying out there and enjoying the world in whatever capacity they want to.
Yeah, I think you just kind of nailed it. You just kind of said it. It's promoting it. It's promoting um, the value of our environment. And what we try to do is really support kids, and trying to, connect with kids that hey man, we're here to help you out on hooking you up with some really advanced protection when you stay out there, but just also promoting again, the value of our environment versus being in your house on your phone. Or, as an example, a lot of kids today, it seems, from my travels and seeing everything out there going on, is a lot of kids are in there, on their phone, on computers, too much. And so we're out there trying to promote the value of being out there and enjoying the environment in whichever way you want.
What would you say to some of those kids who kind of listen to this podcast or like, see people working at a surf shop and they're like, wow, like I really want to, take my life in a direction that like allows me to do things I love and allows me to pursue cool opportunities that, do involve me being outside, do involve me kind of pursuing action sports and kind of potentially building a career out of that. Um, I guess like what advice
Yeah,
would you give those types of people given that, you've been so successful in doing that?
yeah. I mean, success is relative to, being healthy and inspired and being psyched about life in general, right? It's not about, money and materialistic stuff. And yeah, I mean, what I would suggest is like keep exploring, kind of like what North Face says. Keep going, keep figuring out, hey man, what is the passion that I can wake up to every day and be psyched to keep exploring that passion. The more you explore, the more wisdom you're going to get, and the more you're going to figure out about how you're going to enjoy the environment that is given to us. I mean, there is so much to see out there, and so much to do, and the more you check it out, the more inspiration you're going to have, and the more you're going to figure out, hey man, these are the passions that I want to pursue in my life.
We've talked a lot about kind of like the benefits of, working in the outdoors industry and kind of, the good parts of it. What are some of the difficulties and the setbacks that you've kind of faced throughout the years? I mean, in terms of burn, um, just kind of being in this space.
Yeah, I think, you know, no matter what path you pick, there's always going to be ups and downs. There's always going to be challenges. There's going to be wins, and there's going to be losses. It's kind of like a major league baseball team. Like if you're a major league baseball team playing 162 games a year and you win 100 of them, well, you're definitely going to the playoffs, and you definitely won a lot more than you lost. And there's something to be said about that. And when you lose, you learn something from it. And if you can learn something from your losses, just like you learn from your wins, and apply that to your next initiative or your next goal, you're going to continue to figure out how to win more. And I think, like, to answer your question, the challenges has been being an independent company, a company that has never sold out to a corporate company or never brought in venture capital. And I think that's the thing I'm the most proud of, and the Bern team is the most proud of, that we've stayed independent. So we can stay focused on our mission. We can stay focused on our values, which again is, the experiences of the sports that we represent. Sometimes we haven't been successful, other times we have. We've definitely won more than we've lost. But it's challenging in today's world to sustain being an independent company and to sustain, um, you know, um, pursuing your goals with values that maybe corporations don't have. And the result is that you get leveraged out by corporations. They'll knock you off or charge less on what you're charging to sustain success. So I think that's been the biggest challenge, but we're proud to say here we are 21 years later, continuing to forge down the road of improving on what we do all the time. And, our product and our helmets and the differences in our helmets um, speak for themselves on how we've learned from our wisdom and experience over that 21 years.
Obviously, with Wheels and Waves kind of being like a shop that isn't a chain, like locally owned, um, obviously, you know, prioritizing like just providing people with the gear that they need to get out there and have a good time. How, and it seems similar for Bern, like a similar mission, a similar goal. How important is it for the action sports world to kind of have these entities that are separate from corporate America, separate from companies that are just simply trying to make money? How important is it to kind of have these pillars in our communities and in the world that are, I mean, obviously every company and every shop has to make money, but how important is it to have people who genuinely care about what they're doing and why in the action
Oh,
sport?
it's huge. It's beyond, and that's such a great question, Henry. And you're an example of this. Just graduating from college, right? Deciding that, hey, man, it's not about going for the almighty dollar. It's about, pursuing my passion. And the brick and mortar retailer is such a major footprint to what you just said, because every brick and mortar retailer, you know, basically whatever 9 out of 10 of the owners or whoever they are, they're doing it because they love the sports that they represent. They're doing it because they want to wake up every day and hook up their customers with equipment that's going to enhance their experience. I mean, my first job, when I got out of college, I knew I wanted to be a ski instructor. I knew I wanted to move out west, and I got a job at a local ski shop called Ski Town in Braintree, Mass. I was living at my dad's on the South Shore, which is where Bern is from right now, of Massachusetts. And I really enjoyed selling equipment to 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 skiers, and knowing that, hey man, that pair of skis that I sold to that skier is going to enhance their experience, and they're going to have more fun at the sport. Just like when I moved out to Squaw Valley and taught skiing for 3 years after college, every time I had a lesson and the lesson went well, and I saw the person I was teaching get better and be excited about that sport, that was a shot in my arm that, hey man, that was really cool that I influenced somebody that is into the sport. But yeah, I mean the brick and mortar guy, they're challenged, and they're challenged by Amazon. They're challenged by D2C. Amazon is 40% of consumption. So, but the way that they're surviving and the way that they're being successful is their passion for what they represent, and their passion is contagious to their customers. And when a customer walks into a cool brick and mortar store that is able like to try on a Bern helmet and have their head measured and get the right size and get the right model for what they're into or what their style is, and pick the helmet up and put it on their head and feel that, oh wow, this is really comfortable, and look in the mirror and go, hey man, I don't look like a dork in this, and I dig the style of the helmet, or get a bike that they test ride and go, wow, this is a really cool ride. I really dig the way I feel, and the way and how my body fits on the bike, that I wouldn't be able to figure out without the help from the brick and mortar manager or salesperson. So, I'm psyched about buying this bike, and I'm psyched about getting into riding. So they're the ones that provide the best service. They're the ones that turn people enthusiasts on to features and benefits that they're not even thinking about before they walk into the shop. So again, to answer your question, insanely important, and they are the fabric of the outdoor industry, and they always have been.
I want to backtrack a little bit to what you said, being a ski instructor. I can kind of relate because this summer I did a lot of lessons um, for Wheels and Waves, just surfing, getting out there. Um,
Yeah.
how important is that, like sharing your passion with other people to elevate yours? Like, kind of walk me through, I guess, what that did, because it seems like that kind of just lit a flame for you in terms of staying within um, the action sports industry, you know, obviously trying to go after skiing and then having it evolve into e-bikes. Like, how does, this simple act of sharing your passion with someone else kind of turn into this lifelong love for just being involved with action sports in any capacity?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing better than, having a hero, and I've had many heroes in my life, and, those heroes, like Glenn Plake in Squaw Valley. I remember him, I lived like 8 miles away from the mountain, and I would hitchhike to the mountain every day. I'd have to be there at 7:30. And, Glenn Plake picked me up once, hitchhiking. I knew who he was, but I never met him, or, never knew his deal or whatever. And he was like, you want to talk about a passionate outdoor enthusiast and skier. And I'll never forget that experience, and then I hooked up with him, and we were both. I was a downhiller at that point, and so was he. We used to ski on 223s down KT 22. I mean, it was unbelievable, and having him as like a mentor, or just one of my many heroes out there, has had a huge influence on my development as an athlete and an outdoor enthusiast. So you know everyone should have a hero. There's heroes out there for everyone, and those heroes are often going to have more wisdom than you do. They're often going to be older than you, and you're going to and it's nothing's better than learning from one of your heroes, or having a mentor that teaches you things that you've never even thought of. That is the coolest thing, and I think kids today are losing that a little, where they don't have heroes, but there is a hero out there for everybody. You just got to find them, and they're going to help you show the path of your career, and your aspirations and what you want to pursue. And Glenn Plake was surely one of them for myself.
So if you want to get into the action sports community, find yourself a hero. That makes sense. Um,
Cool.
lastly, I know growing up, skateboarding, like kids would always be like, "Wow, like I'm too cool to wear a helmet. Like I don't want to wear a helmet." Walk me through what you say to those people. What like when people say, "Oh, like wearing a helmet isn't cool. Oh, I look better without a helmet." Like walk me through what Bern kind of pitches to those people.
Yeah, and I mean, I get it. I never wore a helmet in biking. I never wore a helmet in skateboarding when I was a kid. I never wore a helmet as a skier, or when I was an instructor at Squaw Valley. And then, you know, I had a lot of education and experience about, your head. and your head is like the only thing that you really can't fix. And, in my literally 30 years of experience now in head protection, man, I've seen a lot of gnarly stuff happen out there and a lot of unfortunate accidents and deaths and head injuries that, result in, the person never being the same again. But, and that's where Bern, as an enthusiast and, as a, inventor and pioneer, in the category. Just like myself, just like any other, enthusiasts out there, it doesn't feel good to wear a helmet that you don't feel good in, that you don't feel like it's complementing your identity or it's complementing your style. But when you find a lid that is super comfortable, has a really low profile to it that looks like it's a custom fit to your head and has a style to it that really kind of complements who you are and who your personality is, it is cool. And that's what we've been doing for 21 years. We just been continuing to push the envelope. Hey man, what is the next cool stylistic feature and benefit that we can, develop, and what is the next trick engineering that we can make to get people to feel really good about wearing our head protection. And that's really a tough thing to do because in helmets, you're dealing with, fitting all these different shaped heads combined with meeting a standard. That's very difficult. Our helmets, every helmet, should meet the standard that it was developed for, whether it's biking, skiing, snowboarding, a water sport, skateboarding. And then the style thing is kind of the last thing. It's like, okay, man, we got to use these materials. We got to have this engineering in the helmet to meet the standard. How are we going to now, sculpture that helmet to be a style statement and be a complement to your style, and still meet the standard and still provide a high level of protection. But, it's kind of like, oh, it's never going to happen to me. Someone saying, I don't need a helmet. I'm never going to hurt my head. It's one of those things. And that's a mistake that you can make because you can break a leg or a shoulder or an arm or hurt your knee, and you can come back from those injuries, and all of us have, and all of us had injuries, and man, does it suck being injured, right? But man, if you break your head, you could either die or be injured for the rest of your life. You can't fix your brain. So if you can find, head protection that that feels good, and is stylish, and you like the way you feel, it actually really can help you as an athlete because it mentally and psychologically it's going to make you feel more confident in that experience, more confident to take that line that you want on a powder day, more confident to take that line on your bike, to be committed, to your outdoor experience, while also feeling a little more focused. Like there's nothing better, man, than ripping it on a powder day, when the helmet and the goggle or B1 goggle, which they're engineered to go together and work together, where you can see perfectly with your B1 Zeiss lens, and you feel like the elements of a windy, cold day are being filtered from the shell of your helmet. And the result is you come into the lodge, you're like, holy cow, man, that was one of the best powder days I ever had because I was focused and confident. That's the performance aspect of head protection if you get the right lid and you get the right combo for a day like that. And that's one thing that we're really proud of, that we've worked really hard to make that experience happen for outdoor athletes.
So I guess the answer to those people is you've never had a burn helmet before.
Yeah. Thank you, Henry.
Dennis, I really appreciate your time. This has been super awesome, and I'm super
Cool.
stoked that you were able to come in.
All
Um,
right.
for everyone watching, this is podcast episode number 4 with Dennis Leedom, and we're gonna catch you next time.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, and everyone out there, get after it and stay out there. Thank you very much.